Hi guys, and welcome back to a new episode of Let's Talk Elvis. I hope you guys are having a really great new year so far. So today I thought we would kick it off with a bang and talk about something that has been on my mind recently, and that is cancel culture and why I don't support it and why and how it relates back to Elvis and his life and our generation today. So if this at all interests you, then let's just get right into it. What is cancel culture, you might be wondering, although I think a lot of people know what it is. I just wrote down the definition though, and that is the practice of withdrawing support, canceling public figures and companies after they have done or said something objectionable or offensive. So YouTube is a prime example of this. YouTubers that have made like maybe a racist comment in the past or present or whatever, people find out about it and then they cancel them, which means they just like withdraw all support. They're like, oh, Jeffree Star, nope, canceled, like I don't care about you anymore, I don't want to see your content anymore, you're practically irrelevant to me now, I don't care because you said something and it was stupid and it was offensive and it was wrong, and so you're done forever. And I just see a couple issues with the way that cancel culture is practiced, or just the way that people view it in general. And that is, people learn nothing from cancel culture, I feel like. Like, yes, someone said something that was hurtful to somebody else or offensive to somebody else, and by canceling them, you literally take away their opportunity to learn from that mistake. You automatically shut them down, and it creates a block for learning from mistakes. Like, basically, all you're doing is saying like, you did that, I don't care when it happened, if it happened back in like 2012 or if it happened in 2021, you said it, you made a mistake, you are done. Even if they apologize, even if they step up and take ownership and say, what I did was wrong and I'm sorry, cancel culture makes it so that it doesn't matter, and no matter what you say, you can't fix it. It's said and done, and you're over. You're canceled, if you will. So, I wrote down, saying you shouldn't have said that and here's why means so much more than shutting them out and shunning them without at least making the effort to compassionately educate. This is really hard, okay? And I understand that. I know that a lot of times you hear something and you're like, I lost all respect for you. I don't care about you anymore. Like, I hope I never see you again, girl, because what you did makes me sick. And it's a lot easier to do that and just push them away and get them out of your life than take the time and say like, do you realize what you said? Do you realize why did you say it? Okay. Do you realize that it was hurtful and it was offensive to people? And do you realize, like, is this making sense to you? And let me tell you why you can't be doing this stuff. Let me share with you these facts and this information that would help you understand what you said was wrong. And sometimes they don't need that. Sometimes, and I'm thinking of like YouTubers right now, like they would say something in like 2010, and then this video of them like saying something racist would resurface in 2020, yeah. And then automatically they would have to sit down and be like, oh my gosh, like they found the video or whatever, like I forgot about it, I didn't even know it was there or out there anymore. And they sit down and they make an apology video, and some of it is genuine and some of it is not, but they sit down, they apologize, and they say like, what I did was my old self, like I am not like that anymore, and I really am sorry for what I said, and I hope you guys can forgive me. And then those people still canceling them and saying like, I don't care, like you had your chance and you blew it, pretty much. And so where does that get anybody? You know what I mean? Where does that get you, the person canceling them? You gave yourself no opportunity to educate on topics that you're clearly passionate about because you canceled them for it. I mean, obviously you must care about it. if you immediately shut somebody down, how do you expect either of you to grow? And sometimes people really do like hold fast to their statements, and sometimes you just have to withdraw your support for them. And that's happened a lot. That's happened to me. And so it's difficult in those situations. I'm talking about because surprise, I'm an Elvis account. But I'm gonna tie this back to Elvis somehow, because I know a lot of people like to cancel Elvis. And I've gotten a lot of these questions where it's like, when the new movie comes out, the biopic or whatever, people ask me all the time, they're like, well, do you think people will cancel Elvis when this comes out? Because like the younger generation won't really understand like all this stuff, and like they'll just jump to conclusions. And do you think that they're gonna cancel Elvis? And I'm like, I hope they won't, like, because let me tell you guys, or I'm sure you all know, but some of the things that people like to cancel Elvis for, right, are stealing music, pedophilia, controlling Priscilla, being a controller of his wife. I've seen that a lot. And stealing the King of Rock and Roll title. Okay, so people find those things and they're like, oh my gosh, Elvis sang a black person's song. Canceled. He's canceled. And like Elvis, like, and it's so easy for people to just sit back and be like, oh, Elvis dated a 14-year-old. Oh, Elvis met Priscilla when she was 4. Canceled. Like, no, disgusting. It's so easy for people to just like take facts at face value and like do no research about them whatsoever. Oftentimes people don't even know anything about Elvis, nothing about the facts that they're really, stating, being like, oh, Elvis literally was a pedophile, canceled. They don't really know anything about what they're saying. If they did, they wouldn't be saying this, because nothing is as black and white as you think it is. There's always more to the story, and there's always an explanation as to why things happen. No matter how bad it is or how good it is, there's always a story behind it. Nothing is purely evil and nothing is purely good, if that makes any sense. I was gonna say, people taking these things and, stealing music, pedophilia, being a woman controller, treating women like garbage, stealing the King of Rock and Roll title, all these things that people can cancel Elvis for, they don't like know anything about them, I find. Because if you did, and if you sat down and you were like, okay, what really happened with Elvis and Priscilla? You did your research. If you were really this passionate to go around and to spread your opinion on why you hate Elvis Presley because of this, 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 and this, you would think, girl, that you would do a little bit of research and see like, oh my gosh, is this what really happened? I know that's what I would want to do. When I hear something, when someone tells me like, did you know he did this? I'd be like, oh my gosh, really? And I would look it up. And I don't think that that's like such a hard thing to do. But in this day and age, people will hear something on Instagram or Facebook, and then they'll go and they'll spread it as a rumor, and it'll just keep going and going and snowballing to the point where it's like so many people believe in this rumor. It's like, how do I even put this to rest? Like, so many people believe in this thing, this idea that they have put no effort into really trying to figure out, because if they did, I can guarantee you wouldn't think the way that you do. So if you have the passion to go around and spread why Elvis Presley should not be glorified, then maybe do a little bit of research. I'm not even saying like do research, like sit down with your glasses and like your tie and like Google it all day, read articles, read books. I'm just saying like the tiniest amount, put a little bit of effort into really trying to understand, because nothing is to be taken at face value. Like, I have learned so much this past year, and things I thought I knew, I started out and I read Elvis and Me when I was young, and I grew up, that book, I was like, yes, Priscilla. And nothing against Priscilla, no tea, no shade or anything, but I've learned so much beyond her story that it's like, you know, just reading one other book, just reading Child Bride after I read Elvis and Me helped me understand that there was way more that I wasn't understanding. So educate yourself. Like, if you have this burning desire to go out and comment on like fan pages that Elvis was a racist or Elvis was a pedophile, you shouldn't stan him because blah, blah, blah. I wish you would put that much effort into simply reading a book, or just like sitting down and reading a couple articles by credible sources, or like asking questions. Like, there's so much importance in asking a simple question to an authority figure that might know more on the topic than you do. I know I was talking to Maggie, Elvis and Leather, the other day, and we were talking about, you know, if someone asked me about like Michael Jackson and being like, oh, what about this? Do you know about this? I would be like, girl, no, because I don't know that much about Michael Jackson. I'm not educated in Michael Jackson. Like, I don't know anything about him. So I'm not gonna sit here and argue with someone who clearly knows about Michael Jackson, about his life, has put in the work to understand Michael Jackson and his life. I'm not gonna sit here and argue with them and be like, girl, no, because I heard this on Instagram yesterday that he was like, he like drank, you know, grape juice at night. And so I'm not standing him because, and I'm not listening to you because you have no idea, because I read this yesterday on Instagram. Like, okay, but embarrassing for you because you're sitting there arguing with the person that has clearly put in the work and you have not. So how would you actually know? You know what I mean? So anyway, I'm getting heated. Can you tell? But I just wrote down as well, you and girl, I want this on a t-shirt, I want this printed on a shirt, and I want to wear it until the day I die. But you cannot compare past and modern day standards. Okay? So the next time I hear somebody talk about how Elvis met Priscilla at 14 and how that makes him a pedophile, okay, let's talk about it then. Let's talk about how Elvis grew up in the South and how he was very poor, and how in the South during the 30s, 40s, and 50s, it was not uncommon for women and men and boys and girls to drop out of high school and get married, because that was really the only option for them, because they were poor and they couldn't go to college and get a life for themselves. So they lived to have a family and have children and to raise that family. That's what they did. And you know what else was not uncommon? Marrying your cousin. It was not uncommon back then. Is it uncommon today? Yes, because it's a different standard and it's a different time. Things happened back then that like you couldn't even compare to today. Like I said before, my mom, okay, she got married in like the 80s, first of all, which is closer than the 30s, 40s, 50s. She was 19 years old. I can't even imagine getting married at 19. I know my grandma, when she got married, was 15, okay? So it's like, it was a completely different time. People got married at a younger age. And I'm not even trying to like sit here and educate you about like Elvis was a pedophile. I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying like, there's different factors that play into why things happened. You can't change the things that did happen, but you can sit here and you can try, and you can try to understand why they happened the way they did. What factored into the situation that made it play out the way they did, the way it did. You know what I mean? I've made a video on, you know, debunking the whole Elvis and Priscilla pedophilic thing on my Let's Talk Elvis. So if that interests you at all, please go check that out. There will be a part 2 to that, by the way, that I'm gonna make soon. But an example of this like standard or, you know, different time period is that like back in the day, okay, smoking was seen as like something that like really cool people did, rich people did. Nobody knew that it could affect your health until much later on. Now we know that it could affect your health and that it's really bad for you to smoke. So are you gonna like pick apart people back then for smoking? Wow, they're smoking. That's so stupid, because don't they know that that literally is so bad for them? It's gonna give them lung cancer. Girl, no, because it was a different time. People didn't know. And I'm not saying it was like a different time. People didn't know that like, you know, age gap was a thing. But age gap was a thing. Like, it happened back then. And just because Elvis was a celebrity and he had his name out there and he was on this huge pedestal and his image was this huge thing, it makes him different than everybody else in the fact that his situation is always different because his name is always in the limelight. His life is always on a plate for everyone to view. But if it was just another situation, if he was just an ordinary guy meeting a 14-year-old, dating for 2 months, and then not seeing her again until she was 17 and getting married to her when she was 21, girl, nobody would even turn ahead. You know Loretta Lynn, the country singer, super famous country singer, by the way, very influential. She's like the queen of country, I think. Something like that. But she literally got married when she was 14 years old. Okay, she got married when she was 14 or 13. 13 or 14, honestly, I think it was 13. And her husband was a lot older than her. He was in his 20s. And nobody says a word, okay? And I wonder why that is, to be honest. Why isn't her husband labeled as a pedophile? They had a lasting, healthy marriage. And she was a celebrity. Everybody's situation is different, okay? And it doesn't make them, you have to put in the work and you have to try to understand before you go and you say, oh, he did this, canceled. I don't care, he's canceled. Honestly, don't cancel people. Don't do it. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to you. It's embarrassing to the topic that you're passionate about. Just give people the benefit of the doubt. If you try and you don't succeed, girl, maybe that's the opportunity for you to take a step back and be like, okay, I've given it my best shot. That's all I can do, because they're not open to it. You know what I mean? Don't throw them out after one mistake. That's just my opinion. All this is just my opinion. You don't have to agree with me. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys in my next episode. Stay safe. Bye.